Hi, hello, and good day to you. I am Navy Beans, and I'm excited to be here with all of you for my first non-animated video. As I've promised from the title and the thumbnail, you will be seeing me make PearlescentMoon as a art doll. I will be referring to her as PearlescentMoon. Because I have no idea what I'm doing, we're going to be sticking googly eyes to my hands, because you know what they say, eyes are the window to a soul. Because apparently, it is necessary you know I have a soul. I have no idea what I was doing 3 weeks ago. Anyways, while you watch me make this armature, I want to make clear that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm still learning and improving as I make more art dolls, and in fact, I've learned a lot more since the 3 weeks this video has been in my edited folder. So if you desire, you are welcome to give your tips, suggestions, and insults in the comments. Once we finished our basic armature with wire, we are going to continue on with the form by adding aluminum foil. And once I realized I forgot the joints, we're going to take apart the form and aluminum foil. You will soon see that this is my first mistake of many. Now for the fun part, clay. I am using Crayola air dry clay because I like its qualities. I don't know what type of clay you would normally use in claymation or other art dolls, but so far it works, and if it works, I'm going to use it. I added clay to the majority of the body except her shins because her boots would cover that, but by that logic, I didn't need to use clay on other parts of her, so I have no idea what I'm saying. I then sculpted the hands, which were worthless as it did not last. Now we are going to start making the head, starting off with some foil for the form, then moving on to clay. While we are here though, I should explain why I didn't do much for the eyes. If I were to turn this into an animation, I would hate trying to figure out the mechanics of eyelids and eye rollings and stuff like that, so instead I just left them blank to animate over top digitally for a mixed media look. Moving on to my favorite part of the whole thing, sewing. I love sewing so much. It is genuinely one of my favorite things to do, and doll clothing is such a fun little challenge. Doll clothing is particularly hard because I can't just print out some pattern I found on the internet, so it is a bit of trial and error to get the right fit. Okay, cue the dramatic music. Now we got the pattern pieces done and it's time for the machine to come out. And the googly eyes to go away. I don't want to be trying to sew with those at all. Now that we've cut out our first pattern pieces, you can see me realize my mistakes here. A, I'm using my final fabric. B, I did not account for seam allowance. Okay, starting again with some green scrap fabric, I'm going to be trying to test my first pattern. Also, sorry about the camera moving here. I'm using my simple sewing machine and it does vibrate the table enough to move my tiny tripod. Here's my first try at the shorts. I messed up on the darts on the back. It's not as high-waisted as I would have hoped. Here's the second test. I was pretty satisfied, so I went ahead and moved on to the final. Sewing, 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 more sewing. Here, I did not want to sew a tiny triangle hem, so I hot glued it, which was a terrible idea because it gave me a lot of problems, so thank you, past me. Also, I apologize for how gross the hot glue gun looks here. My cats shed so much so their hair just kind of floats around till it gets stuck on stuff. Moving on to more sewing, this is me sewing the hem, which is tedious but pretty relaxing. Now I'm starting to sew the shirt. Now we're going to struggle with this shirt for a while. Let's just speed that up. Ta-da! Here's what she looks like. The back is pretty messed up because I had to sew the clothes to her body. After all, tiny zippers do not exist, and if they did, wouldn't sew them on. However, we did have some casualties with the hands, so I did redo them a little. And wow, look at that transition. I am so awesome. And sarcastic. Please don't hate me. Okay, here's where you start to see more mistakes. This is my first attempt at Pearl's boots. I always imagined her in rain boots, so I was seeing if I could mimic that with gloves. Here's me seeing if glue would work rather than sewing. Also, if you look at that doll so far, you can see that I was also trying to use this stretchy black fabric for her boots, which actually ended up being the final product, so sometimes your first try is the best try. Here's the hot glue attempt. Here's the attempt of me gluing it to her body, and then I just kind of gave up and hoped coloring the glove would solve my problems. Okay, now, are you ready for this? Bam! I'm just adding some clay, Sharpie, and Mod Podge to her feet to mimic that leather or rubber look that I wanted, but obviously that doesn't fix the rest of the boot. But hey, that's okay, sometimes you just can't get better until you accept how terrible it's going. However, because I am stubborn, I'm not going to accept, I'm going to procrastinate with making her cloak. To start, I wanted to get that basic shape down with my scrap fabric, and then we go ahead and start crocheting. Here's the final cloak. It is done with a back loop yarn over slip stitch, which made it very painful to start over when I failed the first time. Also, sorry about the band-aid and the cat scratches on my hands. I do have a life going into random sewers and accidentally breaking my nails and meeting feral cats in the process, so I can't exactly keep my hands very consistent looking. Okay, back to the boots. Instead of using an unconventional material, I just opted for the stretchy fabric, which worked, and here's the outfit all put together. Time to move on to the hair. I first wanted to start with the hair cap to attach the hair to, and to make that, I saturated a piece of fabric in some Mod Podge and sculpted that to the clay head. To make her hair, I'm going to be using my beautiful ironing starch, but this new bottle says ironing spray, so I don't really know what to believe anymore. Anyways, once we separated some strands of yarn, we're going to spray it with the ironing starch to straighten it. Okay, here is everything straightened, and I'm slowly realizing I hate the hair. Also, that thing on my finger is just a finger cover to keep my band-aid from getting wet. Just thought I had to mention that. Anyway, here's me gluing the hair on, here's me painting the hairline on the final hair. I'm also taking time to do the touch-ups on the skin and adding blush and other details. And ta-da! Here is the final doll. Yay! Okay, I hate her hair so much. We're gonna start over. I'm not gonna finish this video until I liked the hair. This was filmed a week later, after I had some time to think everything through. Well, at least just thought. There was no way I was gonna think anything thoroughly. Clearly, as I forgot to put the googly eyes back on. I started with separating the yarn and then straightening that. Then I sewed that to a piece of fabric to give her hair a better hairline than what the glue was doing. Now we're adding the front pieces. Boom. This is her with her hair styled. But we're not going to settle with boring. If you've seen my animation Pearl, she has some swishes to her hair for some personality. And to achieve that, we use a lot of ironing starch and then heavy-duty hairspray. Just adding a little bit of paint to make it seem more natural, and here is the final doll. I'm much more happy with her hair, and I'm so glad that I took the time to redo it. Of course, this video wasn't going to be over with a little test animation featuring PearlescentMoon and Gemini Clay.
Scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love me today?
Oh, like 0.
I hope you enjoyed the video. I've never edited or done a voiceover for anything, so I hope everything turned out okay. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in other future projects and more animations. Bye!